justice, says he thinks the law has helped embolden teens to participate in shootings because family court doesn't impose harsh consequences when they get caught just for having a weapon on them.
I would argue it's good for the kid with a gun to be punished mildly so they stop doing it as opposed to getting them for murder when they're 18. But there's also just the public safety idea and the message it sends.
WNYC is supported by David Auburn's Proof, starring Iowa Debris and Don Cheadle, making their Broadway debuts, and directed by Hamilton's Thomas Kail, now on stage for a limited engagement. Tickets at proofbroadway.com.
The party with a good story.
Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clarke has also been outspoken about changing elements of Raise the Age, especially when it comes to gun possession, which she said almost always lands a younger teen in family court. That's the distinction. Clarke says her office is then legally not allowed to know how family court cases play out, making it harder for prosecutors to understand how to steer these young people away from violence in the future.
We didn't necessarily have to treat 16-year-olds as adults. But I think that the way that it was written, it still hinders us from it being the best that it could be.
Data shows, David, that the Bronx has experienced a disproportionate amount of these shootings involving young people relative to other boroughs. DA Clarke says some of it also might have to do with the influx of weapons in the borough.
I think one of the reasons why we're seeing an uptick is because the flow of guns are coming into the Bronx, and we just have not been able to get a handle on it. What I've seen is that I'm like losing a generation of young people to this violence.
Wow, losing a generation. What are she and other city officials doing about this?
Well, changing Raise the Age has not been a popular choice among criminal justice advocates, so Clarke and other law enforcement officials have turned to a variety of other strategies to try to prevent teens from picking up guns in the first place. Clarke has created a youth advisory council, which she says is made up of about 30 local teens who meet with her several times a year to discuss what resources they need in their neighborhoods. She says she also works on violence prevention with the City Department of Education, the Administration for Children's Services. For young people going through the court system already, Clarke says she established a Youth Justice Bureau, which is actually staffed by assistant district attorneys who specialize in adolescent brain development. And then they also connect some of those defendants with diversion programs where appropriate.
Everybody plays a role in this, and until we all understand that and work together, we're going to continue to see kids either being offenders or victims of crime.
The NYPD has also been involved in a big push to deter youth violence across the 5 boroughs. At the start of school last year, Commissioner Tisch implemented a youth safety zone, or youth safety zones throughout the city, rather, to focus additional officers on high-risk areas like bus stops and commuting routes. The department says the effort is working. Youth-related crime in these zones has fallen by nearly half since September of 2025. And it's not that police are arresting more kids, because I asked that question, David. They say it's just that the violence has been prevented because the officers were present. But summer's coming. That's a big challenge for law enforcement as the weather warms up. Experts say crime and gun violence particularly can go up as people gather outdoors. So we'll just have to see how this all plays out.
WNYC's Brittany Kriegstein, thank you for your reporting and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, David.
Support for WNYC comes from Bang on a Can, presenting the Long Play Festival. 4 days of live music by Steve Reich, Caroline Shaw, Philip Glass, and more. April 30th through May 3rd in downtown Brooklyn. Tickets at longplayfestival.org.
54 degrees right now in New York City. We're seeing some sunshine this morning. It'll be cloudier this afternoon, a high of 66 today.
Reading between the lines of a royal visit.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business. Amazon Business offers smart business buying, which uses AI-driven tools to perform time-consuming procurement tasks, helping to simplify complex processes and streamline workflows. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com. And by GEP. With GEP Key Agentic AI and GEP Smart Software, GEP is at the forefront in agentic procurement orchestration and autonomous supply chains.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore. Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla are in Washington today. The visit includes a meeting between the King and President Trump and a dinner tonight. It's all meant to mark the 250th anniversary of the U.S.'s founding. But there are tensions beneath the surface, including over tariffs.
President Trump has threatened to impose a big tariff on Britain if it doesn't drop a 2% digital services tax. The tax applies to any business that provides a social media service, search engine, or online marketplace to users in the UK that meets a revenue threshold. U.S. tech giants ended up paying the tax. Britain's Revenue and Customs Department says there's a misalignment between where profits are earned and taxed. But Trump says the tax targets U.S. tech companies. The president told Reuters he will bring up the tax in his meeting with King Charles, adding, quote, "I'm going to talk about everything." The British Prime Minister's office says it's not going to scrap the tax. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
The Federal Reserve begins 2 days of meetings today to figure out what, if anything, to do with key interest rates in the U.S. economy. Influencing interest rates is how the Fed fights inflation and promotes job growth. Julia Coronado joins us to talk about how all this will probably go down. She's founder and president of Macro Policy Perspectives and a professor at the University of Texas, Austin. Hey, Julia.
Good morning.
If inflation is not fixed, the Fed wants high rates. If the job market's not doing so hot, the Fed wants lower rates. Unfortunately, both are a problem right now, as they have been. What is the Fed thinking as we go into this meeting?
I think the Fed is looking at the outlook much like all of us are. There's a ongoing conflict, war in Iran, that presents huge uncertainties to the outlook. As you note, that could lead to both a weaker job market and rising inflation. It already is leading to rising inflation. So the Fed's really going to be telling us they're going to have to wait and see.
They've been doing a lot of waiting and seeing. And that's not a dig at them. I mean, there's just so much that changes so fast. But is there a risk to, when you got to wait and see a lot?
Remember, they did cut rates last year in response to a weakening job market, and the job market appears to have stabilized. The unemployment rate has been stable for more than 6 months now. Meanwhile, they had hoped to see more progress on inflation, and we just haven't seen it. So I think that they're not just sitting on their hands. They are really, really digging through the information and coming to the conclusion that the best thing to do right now is just hold interest rates right where they are.
Julia Coronado, founder and president of Macro Policy Perspectives. Thank you, as always.
My pleasure.
All right, let's do the numbers. Dow futures are up less than 0.1%. S&P futures are down 0.7%. NASDAQ futures down 1 3/10%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Baird. Baird strives to attract and retain top financial professionals, providing stability and continuity of advice for clients across market environments. More information at BairdDifference.com. And by The Economist, offering global reporting and analysis on politics, economics, and world affairs. More information at economist.com. And by Odoo.com, providing business management software with integrated programs for accounting, manufacturing, and operations. Odoo, all your business on one platform.
The U.S. government is expected to pay out more than $166 billion in refunds for tariffs that were struck down by the Supreme Court. But those tariffs have been replaced by a new 10% tariff, which will likely in turn be replaced by other tariffs this summer. Joanne Cartelia is one of many small business owners struggling with all of this. She owns the Queen's Treasures in upstate New York. They design and sell historic dolls and toys. Joanne, welcome.
Good morning.
How much are you hoping to get back?
About $15,000.
Is that all of what you paid, or is that like a fraction of what you paid?
I have one shipment that was handled by my factory in China. So I know what I paid directly, but my last bill, I have to work with my factory in China to get a refund. They handle the shipping for me.
I see. So this is only part of what you've paid.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. The tariffs that you experienced, they're gone, but tariffs in general are not, right? The president has a lot of options for additional tariffs he might impose. You kind of have a sense of what this year's going to look like?
Honestly, I can't say that I do because every day is a new issue. We are still paying tariffs. I don't feel confident about anything right now.
You were thinking about retirement, I understand. Are you still thinking about doing that?
That's been kind of taken off the table. You know, I have an economic injury loan that the government was wonderful and gave out during the shipping crisis post-COVID. This EIDL loan that I have is a personal guarantee. So even if I declared bankruptcy, I will have a judgment and owe the government more than my Social Security check would be. I am in the scariest financial situation of my life. I've never been late on a payment. This month, I'm a little late on my EIDL loan. I'm not in a 30-day period, but I need some money to come in. And my husband and I are doing absolutely everything we can to cover our expenses. So I Airbnb my house, my beautiful home. My husband and I sleep in the camper in the summer that we planned on hiking our way into retirement. My husband got a plow truck and was plowing driveways for extra money. He's 67. Our life has done a 180. It's been a battle. And all I want to do is produce high quality, historic based toys that kids will learn from and enjoy playing with.
Joanne Cartelia, CEO and president of the Queen's Treasures, a toy and doll shop in upstate New York. Joanne, I am so sorry you're going through this, and thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you so much.
In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
WNYC is supported by Columbia University School of Professional Studies. Upskill for the changing workplace with Columbia's flexible master's programs. Application deadline May 1st. More at sps.columbia.edu/upskill.
This is WNYC New York. I'm David First. The BBC NewsHour is coming up next.